This is very concerning for the Bills. We're a few days out from the season opener, and there are still some gaps in the roster that could prove to be detrimental. The Bills face their first opponents, the Baltimore Ravens, on Sunday night, and this game will be a good indicator of how the defense will fare against an MVP quarterback and a powerhouse offense. Let's talk about some of these potential roster issues and how they might fare against the Ravens. My name is Maeve Miller. I'm part of the Bills Digest team. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Bills Digest. First, I want to talk about the cornerbacks because that's something that the Bills have kind of struggled with, but also focused a lot in the offseason. This is depicting Christian Benford, who's definitely our lead guy. I would say probably one of our best players on the defense, and he will be our starting cornerback. And then next to him is Maxwell Hairston, who the Bills drafted first round. They had very high hopes for him. However, he is on the injury list. He suffered a leg injury that seemed pretty serious in training camp, so his status is seeming to be out for the next couple of weeks, which is very tough because, yeah, like I said, he was supposed to be the starter. These two were supposed to play alongside each other. So now the Bills are kind of forced to look at some backups, and it kind of feels like we're back at square one with having only one strong cornerback. But Tre'Davious White, who the Bills brought on, was also supposed to be that cornerback second spot when Harrison got hurt. But White also had a little bit of injury. So this is from the Bills website. It said, White, who suffered a lower leg injury during last Thursday's practice, has yet to return to the practice field, and his status remains unknown for the Bills opener. And it goes on to say that Brandon Beane said that Trey's got a great attitude. He's attacking it. Really, other than that, we're just going to take it day by day. Wednesday is the first day an injury report will be due, so we'll see what that is, whether he can practice or not. So I feel like today is Wednesday, so hopefully we'll get some information about that soon, because I feel like that'll make everything a little more clear for how the defense is going to run. Even though Trey White is not the star he used to be, I think having him play as opposed to some of these other guys in the depth chart would be a better option. But yeah, like I said, he was listed on the 53-man roster, so the injury is likely not too bad, but it's still just kind of the unknown. And they've been a little bit quiet about it, so I'm not really sure what's going on with that. But this is also from the depth chart. And there are some points of the defense that I am feeling good about. Taron Johnson at the nickelback. He's been great through and through. Like I said, Christian Benford. But we can see those in those backups. We have Cam Lewis, who I think has been a little bit of a steady player for the Bills. Jamarcus Ingram, he has kind of rotated from being the practice squad to back on the team. He actually played in all 17 games last year with 2 interceptions and 24 tackles, which is kind of a crazy stat. And then we have Dorian Strong, who was the 6th-round pick that I don't know if the Bills want to get him in right away. I think they'd like him to get more experience, more reps, but he is kind of in that backup behind Benford. So really hoping we don't have to use him. But this was on Twitter. It said, kind of a little preview, and it said, I think Buffalo attacks the secondary right from the jump, which obviously, why wouldn't you? That's clearly the Bills' little missing void here, and that goes well for the safeties, which is my next topic because it's also something the Bills have been working on in the offseason. Right now, the leading guy is Taylor Rapp. He's in his 7th year with the NFL. He won a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams, and I think he's been a great asset to the Bills. Our safeties are definitely a little bit shaky, but he's just a very reliable guy out there. I don't know, he just seems like a leader, and he just commands that respect, and I feel like I can really, trust him when he's out there. The second starter, we believe, will be Cole Bishop, and it kind of sounds a little scary because he did not have a great season last year. He was a rookie, so I feel like it's not that surprising that he would be, but it just didn't look like he was clicking as much. He wasn't confident, but I think he's been one of the standouts from minicamp and training camp that people have been saying, Cole Bishop, he's got it this year. This is going to be a different kind of guy than we've seen. And I think defensive coordinator Bobby Babbitt said that. He said the jump we've seen from Cole from that first year as a rookie to this year has been really good so far. There's a lot of room left, but it's been really good. I think it's just the comfortability of what we're doing. It's the more reps he gets of one call. You see him taking more control. He didn't play in training camp, right? And that was the valuable reps missed out. He's talking about last season. Which, yeah, I agree with that all. He suffered a tiny injury this training camp, but I think him missing training camp last year was pretty detrimental because he wasn't able to get that experience and click with the other guys. And I think now he even stated that he came back to Buffalo early and he's been hanging out with Taylor Rapp. And those two guys have very similar playing style, so I'm curious to see how that works out. They have similar builds, and sometimes that's good to have two of the same guys that are similar. Sometimes you want, maybe a bigger, taller guy to go with Rapp. But I'm definitely very curious to see how that works. I'm more confident in Bishop than I was. And I feel like, the staff, other players, and even himself have noticed a change. So I'm definitely excited to see what he can do. Because like that tweet said earlier, the Ravens will be targeting the secondary. That's definitely their main thing. So we'll just have to be ready for that. And as backups right now, we still have Cam Lewis and even DeMar Hamlin. Hamlin definitely got more reps last year. Him and Bishop were kind of battling for that second spot, but I think Bishop has definitely outplayed him. But I feel like Hamlin is good insurance to have in that backup safety spot. And I think Cam Lewis also does. He's very familiar with the Bills, and both guys hopefully won't be starting, but they are an option if things were to go south. My last person I want to talk about that's a little bit concerning is Tyler Bass. Bass, for me, has just always been a little bit of an inconsistent player. I just feel like when he's every field goal, I'm like closing my eyes. I just get a little bit nervous about him. I know he's a great guy. He's so well liked, and he has made some like crazy plays, but I just feel the inconsistency where he'll make a 61-yard field goal, which is amazing, and then miss an extra point or like a 30-yard field goal, which I feel like just can't happen anymore. And there were some comments out of camp that weren't going well. He missed a couple of field goals from the 40s and the 50s. And there was like talk about an injury that might have impacted him. He wasn't completely healthy and he did sit out a little bit. But I just think that, we saw this kind of behavior during the season. This kind of, so I don't think it's just from this injury. But I'm hoping that, have maybe a bit more of a breakthrough season. He still is he's in the top 10 kickers in the NFL, but I don't know why it doesn't really feel like that. And I feel like the Bills definitely noticed that. They brought in other kickers to kind of maybe light that fire underneath him. This was from the Bill Sports Illustrated, and the top players talking about how he missed a lot of the offseason with that pelvic injury, and he made 3 or 4 field goals, but there's concerns that he might not be fully healthy. The Bills must feel this way as well because they brought in Eddie Pinheiro, Greg Joseph, and Zane Gonzalez for a workout last week. So I think fans were kind of confused by this because they were saying if he's a top 10 kicker, why are we bringing in other guys? But maybe it was just for a motivation type thing, Bass, you got to get it together or else we will replace you. I don't think anyone wants to do that. I've heard McDermott and Allen and other staff members speak so highly of him. And obviously everyone wants him to play well. Just for me, he's a guy that is not one of my favorite players, only due to how he is on the field. Nothing to do with his personality or anything, but I just think he is definitely worrisome. And in these games, it comes down to an extra point, when they're playing against the Ravens. In last year's playoff game, the Bills only won by 2. It was 27-25. So, a field goal, an extra point, that makes all the difference. And, I thought this game is just going to be very interesting because it's about how the Bills and Ravens were very similar in the offseason. They kind of kept the offense the same because they have such strong offenses, and that the defense is where they really were focusing on. And I felt the Bills definitely had a strong offseason with that. But it's just a lot is up in the air when you're playing against such a strong team. The Bills have definitely won more than they've lost against the Ravens, but I feel like it is anyone's game, especially with these kind of gaps in the defense. But hoping that the guys that are healthy will play well, and that if backups need to be called up, that, they give it their all, because it would be nice to start off the season with a win, especially since, such a good team like the Ravens. And I feel like the Ravens definitely have a chip on their shoulder from losing in the playoffs last year. We've ended their season a couple times now, so they'll be hungry for that. And Lamar Jackson is an MVP quarterback, but we also have Josh Allen who's an MVP quarterback. So I think our offense just kind of has to stay ahead of them, and we just got to keep on scoring. I think it should be kind of a high-scoring game, and both teams' defense are slightly lacking, so I think it'll really be down to the offense and getting some key defensive stops. Once again, please subscribe to the Bills Digest YouTube channel for all the latest updates now that the season is starting. Thank you for watching, and go Bills.